And you were selected as the first cohort of 300 SMEs that are going to participate in this training journey. So after you were selected, the next step is the business diagnostics, a very crucial step, which we shall explain here today, why it's important, why you should participate, how you will benefit, and similar things like that. So after the diagnostic, we shall use the results of this diagnostic to determine whether your enterprise is new to the sector. If it's new, does it require a foundational course in oil and gas, whereby we provide insights into the oil and gas sector, what opportunities exist, and this we shall also explain here today. And then we have a wide array of capacity building programs that are also going to be explained in the subsequent slides. That these include the business simulation training, the short courses, the technical courses, access to finance, and all these are clearly outlined. And by the end of this presentation, you should be able to understand what opportunities for training they are at the IEC. So upon completion of your training program, we shall have a coaching and mentorship for selected enterprises. You may note that not every enterprise may require coaching and mentorship to achieve its objectives in winning tenders and winning tenders and bids in the oil and gas sector. And after the coaching and after all the requirements for graduation have been fulfilled, the SME will be eligible to graduate at the center. Please note that the overall timeline for the training program, we are anticipated to begin now, end of April, and by the first 3 months, that is May, June, July, the trainings should be completed. We shall give you details of each course, and then let you know about the coaching and mentorship to be ready for graduation towards September. So at graduation, we shall be confident that you're ready and worthwhile participants that are able to write better bids and are able to compete more effectively and meaningfully in the oil and gas sector in Uganda. So that's the overall outlook for the capacity building journey. The next slide, though, highlights just that we are going to have 300 enterprises in total, and already the first cohort, of which you are among, is 300 enterprises. We shall have 3 onboarding sessions, the one today, one tomorrow, each comprising of approximately 100 SMEs to manage your questions and also make sure that we have a clear, we can dive deep and allow you to ask questions for you to clearly understand what's expected under this capacity building roadmap. So when we proceed to the next slide, the first, remember the roadmap, we had a call for applications, and the next step was the business diagnostic. So why are we doing the business diagnostic? The business diagnostic is very important because we want to undertake an understanding of the company's strengths, your weaknesses, your inefficiencies, the risks of SMEs. This will help us get a better understanding of your company. It will help us understand the needs that your company has in order to customize our capacity building program. We do not want to offer a program that is like many others out there. We want to offer a bespoke capacity building program that is focused on each enterprise's needs. We do not intend to generalize the support. Like, we do not want to say, okay, everyone will receive bid management training, contract management, everyone will do a financial plan. No, that's not the plan. We want to do a diagnostic. We want to first analyze what are the issues, what is the problem, what is missing. And with this understanding, we can move ahead to design an intervention for you. We have customized programs, but we can further adapt and modify resources to make sure that each enterprise gets a meaningful journey out of our Bespoke program. So we want to analyze your company's strengths. We want to highlight inefficiencies, what is missing. We want to assess gaps, what are the risks. You may want to participate in the sector, but when we undertake a risk assessment, it's too risky for you. Then we as the advisors advise you to first handle the risks before you can invest in oil and gas. And at the end of this, we want to develop a customized SME action plan. We want to give you an action plan which you can refer to together with your team members and make sure that once you complete items in this action plan, you're then considered a more credible bidder. You have more compliance aspects. You have your competencies worked upon. You have documentation. So in brief, we want to assure you that the diagnostic is for purposes that are intended to improve your learning experience. All the questions in the diagnostic, as you will see, will just help us assess whether you still require support as an enterprise to produce certain documentation or enhance your compliance. So if we move on to the next slide, we shall have a deep dive. As you saw the agenda, we shall have a deep dive into the diagnostic. So we can skip that now. We want you to understand how the diagnostic will work before the actual session, so that you can prepare any information, any preliminary information. You can ask any preliminary questions, such that next week on your appointment for the diagnostic, we are able to move more smoothly. As you saw on our capacity building roadmap, I'm going to refer to it a lot more very often. We have the foundational course in oil and gas. This course may not be attended by all SMEs. It will only be offered to the SMEs who are new to the oil and gas sector. And what we want to do is we want to give them an understanding. What is the oil and gas sector in Uganda like? Who are the key players? Who are the key stakeholders? Who are the upstream, midstream operators? What opportunities are there for your enterprise's participation? So this course has been designed for people who are new and want to understand opportunities, and the training content shall be delivered in a way that provides opportunities, updates on current opportunities in the sector. So let's dive deeper into the foundational course. The target group we are looking at are senior objectives. It shall be a 2-day intensive training from 9 to 5. And the methodology, we shall have presentations, group discussions, case studies, videos. At the IEC, we want to make the trainings as practical and useful as possible. So you will see that we bring in key expert speakers from the industry. We have breakout sessions. We want to make this training meaningful and very relevant to your enterprise. So part of the course content, as mentioned, it will contain introduction to oil and gas. We shall have direct and indirect opportunities. We shall have policies, how to become an oil and gas supplier, what challenges can you anticipate, and how can you address them. So foundational, as I said, is optional. And after the BD assessment, we shall jointly determine whether the enterprise needs this training or not. Okay, so that was the first get at the roadmap. Then if we do an assessment and realize that your enterprise is good to go, so you either attend the foundational training and then proceed to the simulation, or if you don't require the foundational course, you can move straight to the simulation. Okay, so the simulation training, okay, so the business simulation is the dynamic and a risk. We are going to offer the business simulation for enterprises that are still in the growing phase and still need to align certain aspects of their businesses, what you can call maybe growing businesses, not small, but growing businesses, because under this simulation exercise, we shall have experiential learning that replicates real-world business scenarios. So we are going to set up the business environment in an artificial manner. We shall have enterprises come to the center. They will have laptops and desktops that have been fitted with simulation software. And under this exercise, every SME would act as a CEO and be able to try out different business decisions and see what impact they have on the organization. So under the simulation, participants can engage in decision making because it's a group learning exercise. They get to discuss in groups. If, for example, the company acquired more land or hired more staff, what implication would that have on the company? You get to simulate. Simulation means trying out different activities and you see what implication it has. At the end of this simulation, we want you to learn through trial and error. You will learn and see that when I increased my company advertising, for example, when I hired an HSC manager, for example, when I developed a new product on the market, for example, I was able to lose or make more sales. That is the simulation. So when we do the diagnostics and we find out that the enterprise is still in a growing phase, we shall recommend a simulation for you to touch base on certain aspects like business process modeling. Then we shall also support the setting of key performance indicators. And the tool we shall use as the IEC is called SimVenture. So let's get more detail on the simulation. So we are targeting SMEs that are interested in achieving business growth and resilience. It shall be a 3-day intensive training from 9 to 5, and participants shall work in groups of 5 to simulate and operate various business scenarios. The facilitators will tell you, let's simulate this scenario, and you should be able to put in the necessary resources and input to see what that generates you. We are concentrating on 4 main areas. How have you organized your business? What resources? How do you borrow? How do you control credit and sustainability? So how have you organized the company in a business context? Then secondly, we look at your operations. We look at operational efficiency. How do you manage resources? How do you produce, purchase, manage logistics, and what quality control you may do? For example, you'll find that when you simulate the exercise and have high quality control measures, it wins you a lot of new markets and also new customers. So we shall have the opportunity to do this in a practical setting here at the IEC. We'll also simulate on sales and marketing, how to enhance and come up with effective sales strategies and marketing channels. Last but not least, research and development, as it's very important in this day and era. And the simulation shall enhance your innovation and business growth strategy. So let's move to the next slide. And as you looked at our roadmap, we said that we have a lot of short oil and a lot of short courses in oil and gas. So some of the courses we'll offer here, most of them are 3 days training. These shall be offered as both physical and hybrid, depending on the actual course. And the courses have been identified in collaboration with IEC stakeholders and industry players. So we know from the gap analysis that we conducted at the IEC that SMEs are struggling in these areas. So we've already put out content and effort to streamline. But also from the diagnostic, we shall pick more relevant courses that shall be quickly adapted and customized for SMEs. On the menu already, we have bid management. We want SMEs to offer better bids, winning bids, enhance the quality of their bids, and ultimately win tenders. Contract management, we want that once you've been able to win a contract, you can maintain it, maintain relationships with the client, you can meet contract deliverables, and you can improve all contract management practices. In joint ventures and partnerships, we are looking at enhancing your diversification. We want you to partner for success and growth. And how do you do that? That will be the rationale of this course. Many of you are always looking out for joint venture partners and how to formulate, solidify, maintain, sustain. That will be the content of these courses. Then we shall look at access to finance, how to raise investment capital and how to manage company finances. Access to markets, we are looking at not only local markets, but also regional markets, international markets, and also helping your company diversify its products and services. So we have a look at risk management because the sector is very stringent and requires high quality standards. So we need to manage the risk and assess the risk for each company, not forgetting that environmental, social, and governance safeguards are very important in the sector. And as said and highlighted already, we want to leave room for additional courses that will come up from the diagnostic and that you should be able to participate in. The details of which courses you can participate in and how many you need to participate in to graduate are coming up. And by the end of this session, we should have a clearer vision of how and where and when you participate. When not so, but maybe the where and how. Okay, so on top of the short courses we've aligned for you, we have technical trainings. So these technical trainings, we are looking mainly at trainings that are certified, but we have ISO, International Standardization Organization, has a range of standards. What the IEC shall concentrate upon are the ISO 45001 standards, that is for occupational health and safety, and then the 14001 for environmental management. We shall look at quality management, the 9001, and any other ISO trainings that may be identified by the BD, like maybe food management, cybersecurity, any other relevant ISO certifications will be integrated into the training program. But the three are what are foreseen from the start. What is unique about the IEC is that we also have the opportunity to offer tier 1 trainings from contractors. So tier 1s are in this sense all contractors that have contracts from international oil companies like TotalEnergies, from CNOOC, from UNOC, ECOP, and they have a mandate to deliver trainings that are technical and sector specific at the IEC. Some of the tier 1 contractors we have are Sinopec, McDermott, SLB, Envirosurf, Allied Motor Engine, to mention but a few. So depending on your sector specific needs, the IEC will coordinate a training for you with each tier 1 contractor as may be required. So when we issue the training calendar, we shall advise for those that need technical and specific trainings, which trainings they may attend and when they are scheduled. Okay, when you remember our roadmap, I think at the end of this presentation, I'll pause and show you the roadmap again so that we can take stock if all aspects have been covered. We shall have coaching and mentorship. So upon completion of the stipulated courses, what we are doing here is that all enterprises shall undergo the diagnostic because everyone needs to be assessed in what state they are. We cannot generalize. Each enterprise shall be assigned 3 additional courses, and upon completion of that, the facilitators will ascertain whether this enterprise requires additional hand-holding And if it does require any hand-holding, we shall put it into a coaching group, coaching and mentorship group, that shall serve as a personalized and strategic approach to its professional development. And during this phase, we shall also review action plans and make sure there is timely follow-up and quality follow-up for all the things that we are set. So there will be an SME graduation at the end of this training journey. And once an enterprise completes its capacity building roadmap, we shall certify it as ready and fit to participate in the sector. But the certification is just a means to an end. What the IEC really wants to achieve is that the enterprises who walk into the IEC Centre are able to benefit from a wide range of capacity building programs. We are able to enhance their competences. We are able to build their capacities. We are able to make them better players. Better players in the sense that when they submit bids, they are exemplary. When they submit bids, they are one. When they submit bids, they are competitive. When they look at aspects, when the people who have put out the expressions and calls for bids look at the bids submitted by people who have been trained at the IEC, they are amazed and are really inclined to give you those tenders. So the certification is only a means to an end, because our goals and strategic objective is to ensure that you're able to win contracts and tenders in oil and gas. So let's move to the next slide. What are the graduation requirements? So what do you need to have to accomplish to graduate at the IEC? For starters, SMEs must complete at least the business diagnostic. So each and every enterprise must undergo the business diagnostic, and the importance of which I have highlighted so exhaustively, plus any 3 courses. That is what is mandatory. Then you must complete all the mandatory modules. Each course has certain modules. So if all modules are mandatory, you must attend all modules. And if there are any electives, maybe the technical trainings have electives, you can do that, then you can graduate. Then, as mentioned from our components, we also have supplier development workshops and themed networking events. If you attend at least 2 of these, then you're eligible to graduate. As mentioned, the expected date of graduation is sometime in September this year. But until then, we want to work with you, we want to handhold you, we want to support you, we want you to really give us a run for our time and make sure you utilize the IEC to make your enterprise more competitive and more viable. So that is it for the graduation journey. Thank you for the hand claps. Allow me to display the roadmap again to emphasize a few points for your capacity building journey. So when we take stock, and as a summary, we are looking at SMEs. So you've all responded to the call for applications. We are going to dive deep into the business diagnostics after this session. And then those that are new will attend a foundational course. And then we've outlined a wide range of short courses and technical trainings, and also some packages for growing businesses. We shall emphasize access to finance and also look at coaching and mentorship for SMEs before they can graduate. So in a nutshell, people, that's our capacity building roadmap. I think we can take some questions in the chat before we deep dive into the BD tool, at least for purposes of the roadmap and what to expect. If we could look at the chat and take some questions there, but also feel free to raise your hand and then we can take your question immediately after for purposes of understanding. Okay, I'll take the first question in the chat. The first question is from Niwagava Ismail from Acton. Will the SMEs be certified in the 3 ISO standards at the end of the training? Okay. So for ISO standards, the ACEC is going to offer training. The way the ISO is structured, we are going to offer the lead implementers training, then offer the lead auditors training for all the 3 standards that I mentioned. Then at the beginning, we shall have a gap analysis, then the training for the 3 audits, and a certification audit. What we still need to streamline and align is the actual certification fees. We shall communicate in time if and whether after the training, what mode of certification we adopt, whether it will be entirely up to the SME to now pursue the certification, whether it will be cost shared, whether we shall refer you to our partners who are interested in certifying SMEs. So there is still a range of opportunities and possibilities that we are exploring. And at the end of the certificate of the training phase, we should provide you with viable options on how to proceed with the ISO standardization within your organization. So the second question that came in, will these trainings be online or physical? These we shall have hybrid sessions. For example, as we kickstart our journey already, we have an online session today. And also the BD tool assessment will be online, but the other trainings will be physical. Most of the short-term trainings, like the business simulation, where you need to really simulate and have a practical session, it will be here. Some of the short courses will be here, but where we have a key expert input. For example, when we invite the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, or when we invite a keynote speaker from UNOC, these may join in online to complement our training. So we request for flexibility, and you will know the training mode for each of the courses you are selected to attend on time, such that you can prepare accordingly or receive the link on time. Okay, so we have another concern for people sharing the QR code again. Let's display the QR code again as we go through the questions. One of the questions we have, will the presentation be shared? Yes, we are going to share the presentation, and we also have a recording for that. For your information, we shall be able to share the recording for you to circulate to your company members who are unable to join and who may need to refer to the presentation for one reason or another. So we've displayed the QR code. Please register your attendance, because remember, already you've started your journey and we are keeping track on who is joining and who has attended. Okay, thank you. So we move on to the next question. Thank you for the presentation. Are there assessments like exams? Let me answer that. Since it's a lengthy question, I'll go bit by bit. Yes, we have short courses, we have assessments. They are not exams as such, but they are simple tests at the end of each module or at the end of each course that we shall use, and this shall contribute to your passing of the course. So if we have JVs and partnerships at the end of module 1, we may have a short quiz to assess your knowledge of the skills that have been presented. So if yes, are there certifications as per short course? No, the certifications are not per short course, but we shall issue, and the certifications shall not be issued to individuals. I think I should emphasize this. We issue certification at the end to the company, because we are looking at enterprise development. We do not want to be the cause for turnover within an organization whereby people certify and leave the organization. We are looking at enterprise development. We are handling this holistically. And at the end of the course, each enterprise shall receive a certificate with a QR code that is then credited to the IEC, whereby even when you're bidding, we are going to do some advocacy such that whenever an enterprise submits this certificate, they are looked at with an advantage when bidding. So we can provide this extra reassurance and guarantee to the IOCs and tier one contractors that yes, this enterprise has been through the hands of the IEC, and we believe they have acquired the necessary knowledge and skills to meet or implement projects as per your requirements, and also they meet key requirements and compliance requirements as per your guidelines. So I hope that answers your question. So another question or rather statement: expected information to provide during the bid to avoid wasting your time. Thank you very much. We've thought of that before. So we are going to take you through the BD tool after this Q&A session to make sure you know what to expect and what information to bring ahead. Thank you for that. Thank you for that input. So thank you very much for this initiative, and thank you for the presentation. Okay, most of these compliments, but we have another question. Please bear with us. How long are the individual trainings? Okay, let me first answer that. As we went through each of the trainings, we saw that most of these trainings are between 3 days, and the longest training will be the ISO, which is 5 days per session. So the lead implementers is 5 days and the lead auditors is 5 days. But all the other short courses are 3 days, and they happen from 9 to 5 p.m. Mode of delivery, hybrid, could be physical or online, as we shall guide you as we move along. So at the end of the graduation, will the trainings be accredited? So trainings are not accredited as per IOC does not have any accreditation status, because for each training you have a specific accreditation. Those who do the ISO and proceed to certify will have accredited certifiers on board, but for the short courses and the technical trainings, they will be credited to the IEC, not accredited. There is a slight difference here, and our credit shall ensure that your advantaged bidders in oil and gas, because we've leveraged a lot of partnership and collaboration with major sector players who will be able to review your bids more effectively, knowing that you've been trained and your capacities have been enhanced. Okay, and a very important question that we forgot to address: what are the costs associated? Is it fully sponsored or self-sponsored? Right from the call of applications, we've wanted to make it known that this course is fully sponsored by the joint venture partners, TEPU, TotalEnergies in the lead. So we have all the activities that you will attend, all the networking sessions that you will attend, all sessions, be it HSC, National Content Development, are fully sponsored by TotalEnergies. The ISO training is what is a bit different, and as explained earlier, we shall fully sponsor all the training. The certification shall only happen either on 3 options that we are yet to ascertain, but shall communicate. We are rallying partners to sponsor part or full certification. Then we are looking at maybe cost sharing, or even a scenario where you pursue your certification once you've done analysis and recognize that certification is very important for your organization. Okay, another question: is there an option for private arrangement for any of the courses mentioned? Thank you for that question. So there is no private arrangement already, but say you miss a course and you want to get in touch with the course facilitator for deep diving, or if you want these courses to your company members, we can have that special arrangement made. The IEC is at the same time making arrangements for these courses to be available in a self-paced manner on an e-learning platform. But that is unfortunately not for this cohort. We shall require time to put up the courses based on learnings and feedback from cohort 1. So for private lessons or tutoring, you will kindly get in touch with us. We shall, however, avail the course content. We shall avail templates for you to use as practical guides. And we shall also provide contacts of experts that you can use and refer to when need be. Okay, so how do we use this code? Let me have someone in the chat type out how to use the code. And once you scan it, you should be able to also provide your onboarding details. Okay, then there is a suggestion from the chat. Please look into awarding a certificate of completion to the individuals for the individual representatives for the successful companies. Okay, this suggestion has been noted. Unfortunately, it's not a suggestion we can affirm to right now. Let's take it up for review and we shall discuss it with the program funders and sponsors. And I'm sure they would be positive. And if yes, we can gladly take it up and share certificates. One thing that we could have skipped is the fact that one person doesn't have to attend all the trainings. The company can delegate different people based on the course requirements to attend each course. But in the end, we shall consider the enterprise as having attended. So another one is a compliment. Thank you for initiative. And then we have a question. Ola, let me just read it out. Thank you for this opportunity. Will there be more opportunities to get projects in oil and gas for those parties? Definitely, yes, and that's the aim. We want to make sure that you get wind of all the opportunities in the sector, but most importantly, we want to make you qualified and eligible for these opportunities, because many a time you find that there are opportunities that are issued, but you bid and all for one reason or another, you are unable to win that tender. So we shall keep sharing opportunities to all enterprises in our database. Even during the workshops that we hold and then into working events, we usually invite the people who have the opportunities, the tier 1 contractors. They come here, they tell you about the opportunities in the next quarter, the requirements, tips for successful bidding. They take you through templates. They give you practical guidance on how to fulfill some of the exhibits that are required. So definitely it's worth being part. So please register attendance of YSWAB. Let's get in touch with you via the chat to see how we can help you further. So we have a question from Awiko. How many participants are needed per company? So we shall require 1 participant for each of the courses. But if it's an HSE training, it's best you would nominate the HSE manager. If it's a business simulation training, you either nominate the chief operating officer or the operations manager, like that. So for most of these courses, mostly that are physical, the allowance is for 1 person. Where there is flexibility to add for the online sessions, we shall let you know, but 1 person per company with the notion that they are able to replicate the learnings and scale them up within their organization. Okay, another question. Shall we be informed of all the upcoming activities? Yes, this is similar to the question before. You will be informed of any supplier development workshops, of any field visits, of any technical trainings, of any seminars. We shall issue a training calendar at the start of the training, but also give you regular updates. For example, for those that need to update your NSD, we already have a National Supplier Database Registration. We already have a session lined up from 27th to 28th. If you think the NSD is almost expiring, please come to us on 27th and 28th May. We have a workshop for that. Then secondly, we have an upcoming workshop. We are going to communicate, but we already have an upcoming workshop on national content. For those of you who are still struggling with national content, that day is 14th May. We shall send you information. We shall have keynote speakers from TotalEnergies, from PAU. So be rest assured that our job is to keep you informed of all the activities. So another question here, when is the training going to commence? So with this session today, we started our roadmap. The training sessions we expect to begin towards the end of May. The actual date is 19th May. So depending on the course you've been assigned to, your courses may be first coming up in June or mid-June, but at least by May, the first participants shall undergo the training program. Okay, where are the recordings and presentations going to be shared? So the same email address we used to share the link, we shall use to share these recordings. Please be sure to look out. Okay, looking at the next question. Can a company nominate one participant for all courses? Definitely yes. If it is not overwhelming for the person, they can do this. Then is it possible to represent two entities? I have a personal company and then I have another company. If you are able to complete all required assignments independently for each of the enterprises, then yes. For example, if you're able to do the business diagnostic twofold within the required deadline, then that's okay. If you think it's too much for you, you can delegate. It wouldn't be a problem initially. We would encourage you to be a bit more inclusive, but if the resources and other factors do not allow, this is okay on condition you meet all course requirements. Okay. Another question. If the operations manager or person appropriate isn't available, can someone with less qualifications still attend? Yes, but similar to the question before, if this person can complete all assignments effectively and meaningfully, if they can pass the assignment, then yes. If not, then you would have to consider nominating someone with a bit of higher capabilities and able to complete assignments. It would be a pity though that you nominate someone and then in the end they are unable to complete the assignment. It would be a loss and a factor that may lead you to non-completion of the course. Okay. What happens to those who already did IMS training? Shall we redo it or shall it be counted as one course already? Okay. So for those who already did the IMS training, you do not have to, and it's not required that you do it again at the IEC. What we shall do, there is something we shall do and what we shall not do. So we shall not count it as one course already, but what we shall do is we shall find another suitable training for you. I mean, we shall deep dive in your organization to see, okay, you've done the IMS. If it so happens, however, that your company has done the IMS, it has done bid management, it has done contract management, it has done all the courses that we have lined up for you, and there is seemingly nothing else for you. What we shall do is deep dive and see, okay, you've done all these trainings. Are you still winning tenders and bids? Yes or no? So if you're winning tenders and bids, that means your company is performing very well in this sector and there is minimal value that the IEC can add to you. If you're really honest with your assessment and you say, well, I've done all these trainings, I don't think there is nothing new for the IEC to add to me, then definitely we cannot tie you up and say, no, you must attend. Then we shall consider you as one of the many statistics that have gone through, but we are already conversant and winning tenders. Because what we could recommend, however, is that if you've been winning tenders only in oil and gas, we could recommend diversification for you to be able to penetrate more sectors outside oil and gas, to be able to explore regional markets, and to be able to take advantage of the additional opportunities. It will be a very rare circumstance that the IEC cannot add any value to you, but I was giving the worst case scenario that If that would be the case, then we would happily qualify you off. Okay. So we have a request to TotalEnergies, and we are taking note. Please, TotalEnergies, make it mandatory to all oil and gas companies to prioritize SMEs under this program upon completion. This we have noted, and it's something we've already kick-started, and TEPU is already aware that companies participating under Bespoke shall be, actually we shall want to move towards shortlisting for SMEs that have graduated. We shall profile them and then avail them to the different stakeholders for shortlisting. They can also contact you for any additional information. Okay, another question. Is this program for this year alone, or also a future program by the IEC? All right, I'll attempt to answer the part I've understood. Is this program for this year alone? So for cohort 1, for enterprises that have participated under cohort 1, they'll attend courses from May to August and then graduate in September, after which they'll be credited as having been trained at the IEC. So next year, they needn't apply again because we will have kick-started their capacity building journey. Some of the templates we provide, you'll be able to use them in your daily operations. The BD tool outside this framework, so you're ready to win tenders. So the future cohorts we are planning for 300 SMEs towards the end of this year and 300 additional SMEs mid next year to complete the 900 SMEs that are in our mandate. Kindly let me know in the chat if that answers your question. If not, kindly expound a bit more so that we can give you feedback to that question. Okay, so looking at the chat, looks like we've been able to exhaust the preliminary questions. Thank you very much. All these questions get us thinking and they get us working to see how to serve you better. Please don't stop the questions, keep them coming, because once you understand what to expect, it will be a very smooth learning journey and it will be a win-win for the IEC and also for your respective companies. Once again, allow me to thank you for joining in because you're displaying a lot of commitment to improving your company's performance. If I may take you to the agenda, we now want to look at the BD tool. We could display the BD tool. We could stop sharing this and display the BD tool. As we are trying to display the BD tool, I see some additional questions, but after this question, we shall park and then first look at the BD tool and see if any questions still came to your mind. So does the training tackle taxation in oil and gas sector? Yes, I would say we have a training, as you see from the action plan. It was one of those unassigned courses where we have taxation and compliance. So if there is enough demand for taxation and compliance, we shall take it up, but also in the other trainings and the supplier development workshops, we usually call on URA, URA, Uganda Revenue Authority. Actually, our last workshop was on URA. It was a very intensive session, and we intend to do one supplier development workshop on URA again. So we shall collect all these additional requests, of which taxation was already among. It's not listed in the main courses, but it's a course we have on shorthand, and it's already outlined for our supplier development workshop. Okay, let's park the questions for now to manage time. We shall come back to the questions again. For now, we want to display the BD tool. Kindly enlarge such that the participants are able to see very clearly the first row, the first rows at least, the first columns, sorry. And then let's begin with the first the first sheet, that is the business information. Okay, we could enlarge it and make sure that the sheet. So we have a business diagnostic tool that we have prepared. The questions we shall handle after. We have a business diagnostics tool that we've prepared for you. The main purpose of taking you through this tool now is for you to get an understanding and picture of what to expect next week. At least we can get your thought process going, and you already know, okay, this is what the session will look like, this is what it would entail, and we want to make it as easy and practical now. All the deep diving will be next week. So if we look at the first sheet in this tool, we are simply requesting for your company information, something you simply need to type out. To avoid any unwanted changes or modifications, we have protected the sheet. So you will see that you only have to fill out information as like, yes, where the cursor is, you put in the company name, and then you put for us the year when it was established. For example, if it's IEC, then the year it was established, 2024. Then core business activity may be engineering or training, and then number of employees, 20. So the annual business turnover, we are looking at that for the past year. You may have made 100 million Uganda shillings, and you can indicate that. And I want to note at this point that why we ask for this information is also to support the monitoring and evaluation. We want to know that the enterprises we are working with at the end of the training program or a specific period of time are able to display better competences, or they have achieved certain targets, they have improved company performance in terms of revenue, staff turnover, and things like that. So we are not operating on behalf of any third parties. We just want to ensure we have the M&E data straight, and we want to understand the enterprise we are working with. So if the enterprise is earning 20 million per year, we need to understand the risks it needs to manage. We need to understand the contracts it's able to deliver effectively, and so on and so forth. And your honesty is very valuable. So if we ask for a certain aspect and it's not available, it is in the company's best interest to say, no, we do not have an HR manual, because this is the method and avenue whereby the IEC can help you to achieve these documentations, all aspects. So if you've been a successful bidder before, we also request you to list some of the projects you've undertaken. And also this is to understand the kind of entity we are dealing with. Okay, so that's the first sheet. And as we proceed, yes, thank you for the comments. First, go back to the first slide. I like that the questions come in already. I think it's good to address them. So the annual turnover, can it be an average of all years of operation? Rather not. We want to understand your previous year, like currently. In the past years, in the 2020s, you could have had a high turnover, but at the moment it's low. So we just want to benchmark on last year's and understand your current level of operation, because we want to offer in-time support. We don't want to base a lot on what happened in the past. So it's okay if you just give us an indication of annual business turnover during the year 2024. So should experience be only in oil and gas? Yes, please. We just need oil and gas for now, because we are targeting to win new tenders in oil and gas. The IEC is sector-led for oil and gas. Even though there are aspects of diversification, our priority is for you to benefit from oil and gas, and then later, for sustainability, we can venture into other sectors. Okay, so please keep those questions coming. We can address them as we go. Then I want us to move to the BD assessment sheet. You first ignore the M and E because that can be covered quite quickly in the end. We have designed for you a BD tool that is comprehensive, but yet very simple to use. Looks can be deceiving. You can look at it and say, wow, it's so bulky. But no, it is very simple. We've tried to pilot it with enterprises like yours. And once they understand what to expect, it's really a walkover. What I want to explain today is how the Excel sheet or the tool is structured and how you need to fill it out and how you can see your results in the end. Those are the three main objectives for today. You will find that as we go through the tool, there are certain aspects you may not understand. So there may be a term you're not familiar with. You can put it in the chat. We shall outline all that. We shall outline all the new terms you may have heard today, such that during the BD session, we can provide more information, or at least we can try to put in the chat a bit more context. We've organized, excuse me, we've organized the matrix, the BD tool in terms of themes. So there are about 10 themes we've selected that we know are very important for your company's participation in the oil and gas sector. So these themes, I'm going to first highlight them. If you could go to the assessment summary, the sheet with the assessment summary, it has all the themes we are going to analyze. And we are trying to enlarge it. If you could make it bigger, we just want to look at the themes. Okay, so we are going to be a bit bigger. We are going to be looking at compliance as the first aspect. Here we shall look how compliant are you in terms of legal terms, in terms of HSC, health, safety and environment, in terms of national content, in terms of corporate compliance. And each theme has additional questions, additional follow-up questions for understanding, as you will see in the detailed sheet. Then our second theme is operational efficiency. How do you operate as an enterprise? Are you really efficient? Do you manage and use resources efficiently? Is there any wastage? We are looking out for those indicators that you're not operating efficiently as an enterprise. The third aspect we look at is the financial health and positioning. How is your business performing financially? Is it a healthy enterprise? Does it put up any red flags already? How are you positioned to manage finances, to raise finances, to sustain business operations? We look at the fourth aspect, bid management. How are you managing your bid processes? Do you have structures and systems in place? Are you just applying haphazardly? Or what are you doing to improve your bids, the quality of your bids? Contract management. Now this is also for oil and gas specifically. We are looking at if you've been able to win any contracts, how did you manage them? Was the client happy? What practices and strategies do you have in place? What really, we are analyzing what are the chances of you winning another contract based on your previous performance. If you've not managed a contract in oil and gas before, then we can negate it. We can put 0, as I'll explain. The other aspect is access to markets. What has been your trend in accessing markets? Is it healthy? Are you only looking at markets locally, or are you exploring markets outside Uganda, internationally? How do you manage your marketing channels? Are you looking into diversification? Because all these indicate the health of your business. Remember that diagnostic is like a medical exam to see whether you're how healthy you are as a business. And in this case, we are looking at aspects that are listed here. Risk management. We dive deeper and say, how are you managing risk? Are there any obvious risks that you may not be seeing that you should look out for? What are the strategies you should put in place to manage risk? Human resources, a very important aspect. How are you handling human resources? How are you attracting talent? How are you retaining talent? How are you compensating staff? Sustainability, very important aspect in oil and gas. How are you looking towards conserving the environment for future generations? What strategies, what systems, things like that. Certifications. Do you have any core certifications? Do you have any sector-specific certifications? And as you can see from this assessment summary, we are able to score your enterprise based on a ranking from 0 to 25. We would say that that particular aspect, you're performing extremely poorly. And the automatic code will be red. It means a lot of things, but we shall go into that when we do the action planning. When you score between 26 and 50, we know you're performing poorly, below average, due to a number of factors, but what is the action point? We shall see that as we proceed. Then you look at a performance between 51 and 80%. What does that indicate? Indeed, you are above average, but there is room for improvement, and that code will be automatically blue. And when you score above 80%, it does not mean that, wow, there is no more need for action. It means there could be certain things that you could iron out and achieve the full 100%. At the end of the diagnostic exercise of this IEC program, we want to take stock again and see enterprise XYZ that began its capacity building roadmap with a 20%, has been able to undergo IEC interventions and activities, and at the end, they are scoring a cool 80%. While we may not attribute that directly to the IEC, there are many aspects that would relate to our effort. And the tool, just like the certification at the end of the training, is not a means to an end. It's just for you to understand that once we do the diagnostic, we want to understand what requirements your company has and what we as the IEC can do to support you to improve this. So looking at our assessment summary, as you fill out the tool, it will be automatically giving you a score. You don't have to wonder what score did I get. As you fill out the tool is a very simplified one. It's actually clicking yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, as you will see. So once you click yes or no, our automatic scores build up to let you know how you perform under each of the rows, under each of the themes. You may find that you're performing very well in human resources with 80, but then performing very poorly with certifications with 0%. We at the IEC have the necessary expertise and experience to support you to balance this out, to make sure we balance out these fears and also enhance your average performance at the end of the IEC capacity building program. We also want you to bother us. We want you to reach out to us and tell us, I've done an internal assessment and I am still performing poorly. Show me how to improve. We as the IEC shall be there for you, because most of these aspects, as we deep dive into each of the sessions, you will see are achievable. So allow us to move back to the details sheet now that you've understood the themes. Let's throw a bit more light into the information we are asking for. So in terms of compliance, we have legal compliance. And as I said, it's a matter of asking you, does your company have a valid tax clearance certificate for last year? In the next column, you will see a drop-down list and you're clicking yes or no. So your job is to find out if you know and click yes or no. If you don't know, we shall avail this tool for you for a period of 3 working days for you to get back to your respective superiors or company managers to ask them in particular, do we have a company tax clearance certificate? Then they will tell you yes or no. You could ask to look at it, but remember this tool only works when we are honest with each other. If you click yes, we have a valid tax clearance certificate, the IEC will assume that yes, you're doing well, yet you're sick. So you're hiding your symptoms from the doctor, which is not a good thing. What we need to do is to be honest, tell the truth, because this is the only way we can give you the right medicine based on your diagnostic. And if you don't have the tax clearance certificate, please don't rush to get it in the 3 days so that you can say yes. This is not the purpose of the tool. The purpose of the tool is for us to bundle all those SMEs that are having similar issues, similar characteristics, similar medication, and we give them what we would term as a vaccine and medicine, such that in future, you're able to mitigate and know that these things are required, but also medication for you to know how to get these things from now on. You will see that the way the tool is structured, after you've clicked yes or no, we have an allowance for you to put any qualitative information. Perhaps you'd want us to know why you don't have a valid tax clearance certificate. Perhaps you've approached URA 100 times and they haven't helped you. It could be any reason. Perhaps you want to give us feedback to give to the client, that is TotalEnergies, in regard to legal compliance. Perhaps you want PAU to remove this as a requirement for NSD registration. Please put it in the additional comments and also highlight any challenges you may have. If you don't have challenges, it's okay. You can skip, but we always appreciate that qualitative input to understand your enterprise better. That is how the tool operates. And as I said, once you click yes or no, we have an automatic scoring. Towards the right hand, Sandra, you can scroll towards the right. We have an automatic scoring. I just want to make you aware that it exists. We don't have to see it as it's updating, but as you click yes or no, your score is updated here. So with more yeses, you have higher scores. But there is a maximum score you can achieve for each aspect and a certain percentage that is then reflected in the BD summary that you saw earlier on. Okay, assuming we can move on, please keep the questions coming in the chat. We shall address all of them. Let's move through the different aspects of legal compliance. So we have, do you have a valid social security compliance certificate for last year? So we mean NSSF. Did you attempt to get any clearance certificate? Yes or no? If you didn't require it, then no. Also to emphasize, if there is anything you're unsure of, even after consulting within your team, simply put no, and in the comments, you can highlight that, and the BD facilitator and your coach and mentor will try to dive deep into why some of these things are not applicable or why some of these aspects are not required. So legal compliance, it still is. We ask questions like, does your company file annual returns with URSB? So you tell us yes or no. Do you have an operational license for the last year? You tell us yes or no. And that session is completed. We look at corporate compliance as another aspect. Do you as a company have a procurement policy? Yes or no. Do you have an anti-corruption policy? Yes or no. Do you have any anti-sexual harassment policy? Yes or no. And then do you have any data protection policy in place? It's also a yes or no. Remember to cross-check with your team if you're not sure of any answer. And if you're sure it's no, then please put no. We shall guide you accordingly. Then, national content compliance as a very important compliance aspect. We ask, for example, is your company classified as Ugandan by PAU? This is an option we had when we were registering for NSD. If you're unsure, we shall have online facilitators during the BD tool application. You can simply engage them in the chat and see how to manage this. If you're classified, then you tell us yes or no. Another question, for example, do you have more than 70% Ugandan employees? With a yes, you tell us. Do you have a national content manager? Yes or no? Do you have a national content plan? Yes or no? Remember, most of these aspects we're asking are requirements. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are not. But the end goal, we are financing the health. We are assessing your health of the business to help us deliver customized solutions and to improve where room for improvement is. We look at HSC, for example. Do you have an HSC policy? Do you have any workplace certifications for the last year? And do you have an HSC manager? So you assess and tell us yes or no. And with that, you would have completed the compliance aspect, heading on to operational efficiency. Remember, questions in the chat, we shall be able to attend to them. Yes. So the next aspect we looked at is operational efficiency. This has certain matrices like process optimization. For example, do you have a manual? Do you have a manual whereby the standard operating procedures are clearly outlined? As we said, if any of the terms are unclear, just put them in the chat. We can explain to you. We can dive deeper into what SOPs are. Then, do you have an inventory management system as an organization? If yes, what type of system do you use? Kindly list it in the comment section. Then, do you have any key performance indicators for your organization? For example, our company this year must increase its market share by 2%. It must attract 5 new clients in oil and gas. So please let us know if it's a yes or no. When we are assessing operational efficiency, we shall also look at technologies used within your company. For example, are there any processes within your company that are automated? Do you have automatic systems? Maybe when a customer calls, we have an automatic voicemail directing the customer how to do ABCD. We have robots that automate the packaging. We have ABCD that is automated. That would be very important for us to know. In addition to that, do you have an innovation strategy in place that you're looking at to make sure you pursue innovations on a regular and consistent basis? Then, do you use any technologies that you regard to be innovative? If you're not sure, you can click yes and highlight for us which technologies. If we are thinking maybe using MS Teams is not so innovative, we shall put a note for you as we are doing the action plan and recommend other things that you could do that are a bit more innovative. So still moving down, we ask questions like, does your company have any patents or copyrights? So we want to know if you've registered any patents in your business successfully, and you can list them for us. If you don't have, please feel free to say no. Still on operational efficiency, we want to see how you manage resources. Do you use any energy efficient technologies? For example, when we visit your enterprise, do you have any solar panels in place? Are you using energy saving technologies? And you can list them. And if you have any cost saving mechanisms in place, how you manage costs? Do you, for example, purchase in bulk? Do you purchase off season, in advance? What are some of the things you do to save costs in your company? Another question we ask is, do you have any relationships with your suppliers, like framework agreements that are going to help you operate more efficiently. Maybe you get the goods and pay later. For now, with an overview of all the sectors, we cannot identify things that could be cost saving or any policies you could have. But it would be nice in the additional comments if you could highlight to us what you do to manage and improve relationships with suppliers. Remember, we also have a column for challenges. If you have any particular challenges, we want you to list them as you go along. And it's a yes or no for most of the things that are quite obvious and clear to you. Let's move to financial health. Here we are a bit more intent. We want to know how you generate revenues and how you access capital. For example, looking at the definition of small and medium-sized enterprises in Uganda, the Uganda Investment Authority defines these enterprises as those earning below 360 million. So in us asking whether over the past year you had a gross turnover above 360 million, we want to assess the level your organization is at. Are you still classified as an SME officially, at least over the past year, or are you a larger enterprise? Because the kind of feedback we give will be a bit customized to each enterprise. We don't want to give you a course that is very advanced. We are talking of very huge turnover when you're really a medium enterprise. You can see we have a column for challenges. What challenges do you have raising capital? Please put that out. Then we also ask whether you're able to access any commercial forms of financing from the bank, from any investors, something that is a bit commercialized in the past years, and feel free to tell us which ones. Another issue we look at is whether you're able to raise sector-specific financing. So if you've been able to get maybe funding from private sector foundation or Petroleum Authority of Uganda that is really geared towards promoting your participation in oil and gas, that's what we are looking at. If there is nothing, if you've not heard about any such fund, please put a clear no. The next aspect shall require a bit more elaboration and clarification from the facilitators on the D-Day, but already we want to look at your company liquidity, and the information you need on this day is your company's current assets and current liabilities. So kindly engage your finance manager if you have one, or your chief operations officer to give you an estimate of the current assets and liabilities you have. If this ratio is greater than 1, as we shall calculate and as you shall be guided, then you click yes. If it's less than 1, then no. Why this ratio is important, we shall explain more, but it really means that you're able to operate in a healthy financial situation. It's really an indicator of how healthy your business is operating. Then we also want to know if you operated with positive cash flows last year. So do you have any outstanding payments? Did you run into issues of where you were unable to pay suppliers on time? Generally speaking, how was it? Tell us. The more honest you are, the more we are able to help you. So we also ask, does your company perform any periodic reporting for cash flow management? We say yes or no. If you do report periodically, then please say yes. If there are no reporting mechanisms in place, you can simply click no. Okay. As part of financial health, we want to look at profitability. This is also an aspect we shall explain further on that day. So we shall have an industry benchmark whereby you, as the person filling out the tool, we shall also share this. You'll be able to look and compare and say, okay, in my sector of tourism and hospitality, the industry benchmark is 2 million. And then you look at your gross profit margin and say, oh, it's 1 million. That means it's unfortunately below industry average. So you will be able to say no or yes. This information will be given to you for each of the sectors that we shall highlight. For any of the extra miscellaneous sectors, we shall have an indicator that you can benchmark upon to fill out the tool accordingly. Under finance, we shall also look at how you manage your financial systems. Do you have a policy in place? For example, did you have any financial statements or reports for the first year? Did you have any audited books of accounts for the past year? Simply click yes or no for any of these aspects. Yeah. And as usual, don't forget to tell us any financial management challenges that you may be facing that you think that put us in better position to help you. Okay, so we move on from finances and go to bid management. Under bid management, we are strictly looking at two things: your bid management strategy and your bid management practices. We are asking things: do you have a bid management strategy? If it is, you click yes. Then as you're preparing and responding to bids, is there a committee or team, or is it the owner who does everything? They'll look out for tenders, expression of interest, they'll write the proposal, the technical proposal, the financial proposal. It's a one-man do-it-all job. Is that the scenario we are looking at here, or is there a team? Then do you have a bid library? A bid library is a collection of all the most commonly used documents. Do you have such a thing? If you've not heard about the bid library before, then no. It means you do not have it. Then just put no. Then once you apply for bids and tenders, do you perform any post-bid evaluation to see why you've not won the bids? Or do you say, oh, that was tough, it was hard luck? We need to know that there are some mechanisms in place you do to assess your participation and your bid result. For the requirements, we ask questions like, do you have sufficient resources in terms of staff, technical staff to write bids, expertise, or do you think usually you're overwhelmed by the bids and you don't know what to write? Still in bidding requirements, does your company have any project management skills? Like, can you prepare and accompany a bid application process? Like, you have someone, a project manager, or you've done project management training that will help you identify and interpret objectives of the bid, and then clearly outline how you intend to achieve the deliverables that are required. Then here we also ask, do you have any previous bidding experience? This is a question we've asked at the beginning, but here we want to score it and make sure it's included. So you can list for us, if applicable, any bids. We further want to know if your company is usually in position to offer bid security and bonds, or are you struggling here? And whether when bids are published, you usually meet the requirements. So you can just give an estimate of whether, in your opinion, you usually are able to meet the bid submission, deadline, documentation, format. If you've not applied before, then it's a no. Contract management, similar to bid management, we want to understand if yes, if you've been able to win a contract in oil and gas, what was the nature of that contract? If you've not won any contract, please click no throughout. That means it's not applicable, but we are scoring it as no for a reason of understanding and deep diving, because we want to deep dive into this issue. Then, if yes, what is the average percentage of contracts won? What do we mean? If you've applied for 2 tenders before, maybe there was a bid on furbishing office space and a second bid was on furbishing the compound. If you've won one of them, it means you've won 1 out of 2, the percentage of which is 50. Here we need to expand the cell because the question is, is the average percentage of contracts won greater than 50%. We shall enlarge that cell to give you a clear indication. If you've applied for 10 tenders and only won one, that means you are at 20%, no, 10%. So please click no, as you've not achieved an average pass mark for winning tenders. The second question is on Tier 1 and Tier 2 contractors. Thank you for asking. So in the oil and gas sector, we have licensed operators who are also known as international oil companies. These already have mandates and contracts from government, and they are already known. For example, we have TEPU, TotalEnergies, UNOC, Uganda National Oil Company, CNOOC, it's the China National Oil Company, oil field services, something like that. And then we have ECOP. So Tier 1 contractors have their contracts directly from these contractors. So they are at a very high level of contracting. These ones, however, are often required to subcontract, and they usually have smaller contracts. So whoever receives a contract from these Tier 1 operators is a Tier 2 contractor. So if you know you're not part of these 1 and 2s, it means you're lying outside the scope, so you put no. And if you're either licensed, you're contracted by Tier 1 or 2, it's very likely that you will know. If you do not know of this, because there are certain obligations that you should have been made aware of as upon contracting, then it's likely you are not. So please put a no. When we move to the average volume of contracts won, if you've been able to win contracts on average, we don't say 1 or 2 contracts, but the average you've won is above 500, then you click no, 500,000. This benchmark is also set in view of industry standards and tax advisory services. Then we look at the practices for contract management. When you win contracts, do you usually have performance management indicators in place? Then, in terms of performance guarantees, is this something your company easily obtained? And have you obtained any in the past 2 years? And when you win contracts, do you engage any stakeholders? Or do you now say, okay, the contract is ours, let's implement on our own, it's all ours? These are the things we want to know under the practices. Furthermore, we ask, do you have any tools or technologies for contract management? You may have a system or software in place that you say, all our contracts are managed over this dashboard. Please let us know which one. And if not, a no as usual. For your company, do you have dispute resolution mechanisms? Have you established any systems that for contracts we win, we've engaged this legal firm to help us with disputes? We have a mediator on standby, or we have regular meetings to identify and resolve conflict. Feel free to tell us. If any applies, put yes. And then do you have any reporting templates within your organization for contracts? I know most of the service providers, contractors may provide templates, but have you also generated anything in general? Then allow us to go to market positioning. The things we ask, for example, do you have a business plan for the current year or current years? Do you have a marketing plan for the current year, or are you operating in a vacuum? Then does your company have a niche expertise? We can explain niche more, but is there anything you're producing for the market, mostly for the Ugandan market, that is special, that a contractor can't find elsewhere? Or a service that you perhaps have a patent for, and this niche can capitalize upon? This is what we want to know. If you don't have a niche, you will probably also know already, so put a no. And then if you have any customer relationship management strategy, feedback, rewards, loyalty program, click yes where applicable. In wanting to support you to expand your market access, we shall also ask things like, do you have any social media marketing channels? If you have any of TikToks, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, name it, click yes, even if it's just one. In the notes, you can put that I don't have ABCD, but I have A. Then do you have a website? You can list it for us. And then do you have an export license? And if yes, to which countries do you export to? Please click no, we are not applicable. We look at diversification. And how we are defining diversification is if your company has more than 3 products that it is offering to the market, or if it has more than 3 services. I'll give you 2 examples for products. An example for products and an example for services. If you're producing chairs, do you have wooden chairs only, or do you have also tables, or do you also have stools? That is the diversification we're asking. You could be, however, producing leather chairs, metallic chairs, plastic chairs. That is not what we are looking out for in the beginning. We are looking at diversification. If you're looking at services and you offer legal services, do you also offer training and capacity building in legal affairs? Do you also offer maybe expatriate services? So if there are more than 3, then you're clearly diversifying. Click yes. If you're rather centered towards a certain product or service, then no. Then do you access any regional or international markets? This could be true even without an export license. So if you sell to people outside Uganda, in one way or another, maybe you're able to take goods to South Sudan, Congo, Rwanda, or even hand luggage outside, but not with an license, please let us know. We shall also ask if you are in any active joint ventures. Why? Because we believe that these joint ventures will enhance your market access and diversification. So 1 + 1 becomes 20 with new partners in terms of reaching out to new markets. That's why you should tell us if you're part of any joint ventures and also list them, plus any challenges you're having if you're not in any active venture towards accessing joint venture. People, we are coming to the end of the sheet, and risk management is pretty straightforward. The things we are asking for, and it's whether you have them or not: a risk management plan, a risk register, a risk management advisor, and any risk insurance policies, if you have, for your company. Okay, so for human resource, we are going to look at certain aspects like how do you recruit and staff. So we are looking at, do you have an employee handbook? Do you have staff records where you record their details? Do you have any personnel? It may not be a manager, but an HR personnel. And last but not least, for human resource management, does your company have an employee management system? So here we advise you to get in touch with your HR personnel. They can give you these things on a clear yes or no, and also highlight for you some challenges. For training and development, do you have any competence framework for training the staff? And then do you have a training plan for them once you've mapped out their competences that you need to build? Do you have a plan at least? And then in performance management, do you have a mechanism to evaluate their performance? And in compensation, we look at whether you issue any allowances, if you have a salary structure, if you have any staff medical schemes, and if the staff within your organization are given any annual bonuses or performance-based rewards. So that wraps up HR. Would be good to get in touch with the HR section to complete some of those sections. I'll ask prior if they can give you this information. Okay, so sustainability, we are categorizing them into environmental, social, and governance. We shall ask whether you have any policies, be it environmental, examples for waste management, water management. Do you have any social policies, maybe any human rights policies that you have in place within the organization? Do you have any CSR, that is corporate social responsibility? Do you have any community engagement plans? and governance, whether you have transparency, diversity, and gender aspects. That is ESG. We can make assumptions that you don't have, but please cross-check with your company line managers for any of the information that you put out in the sheet, because the more accurate we are, the more accurate the support shall be. So we also want to explore 2 additional items. If you've received any awareness or training, and if you've conducted an environmental impact assessment. For some companies, it's mandatory, depending on the sector. But if you haven't, no problem, just click no. And if you've conducted company sustainability reporting and have a sustainability committee, all report regularly on how you mitigate carbon emissions, you can click yes. Last but not least, people, are the certifications. You would, in this space, tell us if you have any of the 3 certifications we mentioned, that is the quality management system, ISO, and the environmental management system, and the occupational health and safety. If, however, you have any additional sector-specific certifications in maybe risk management, in cybersecurity, in food management, halal, click yes and list for us those certifications in the provided space. With that, the aforementioned themes are completed. We would, however, like to believe that you may have additional aspects that you want us to look into, additional themes that we may have neglected erroneously, something we didn't think about, but in your opinion, you say, in my company, this aspect is very crucial. Allow me to quickly think of something that we could have forgotten, but is crucial. Maybe you can say, let me say, you've not diagnosed my mental health, I don't know, my company's mental health, psychological, I don't know. Please feel free. Feel free to tell us anything we could have left out in this section. Right now, our heads are all boiled up around these things, but rest assured, we want to capture as much symptoms and aspects of your enterprise as possible. So with the completion of this tool, remember that the score is automatic. We shall give you 3 days, I re-emphasize 3 working days, to you to familiarize a bit more with this tool, to give you ample time to fill out the sections, to give you ample time to cross-check with your peers. And at the end of the session next week, we shall give you a link to submit your completed tool, which shall also be shared as we share the diagnostic tool. I think we can already share the tool in advance for you to familiarize yourself with it. If you can kickstart some sessions, please feel free to do that, such that on the appointment date next week, we have the outstanding issues. We can take you through and say, okay, these are the things we want you filled out. And the session next week will be, as you complete your tool and submit, you're free to sign out of the meeting. You don't have to stay the whole entire session. So if you're chanced and you're able to complete this tool ahead of time, that will be a plus. It will help us review your results ahead of time, such that we can assess and categorize them a bit ahead. So we are going to now go into the questions that are already in the chat. In the chat, but please feel free to keep them coming. We are going to share the BD tool with all the people who have been able to scan the QR code and register for this session. So a humble request for you to scan the code again and register your participation. This tool, you're going to access it as we share it. So before we go off the tool, I wanted to bring to your attention the second sheet that has some M&E information. This is really now M&E data. It's simple, don't already fret about it. We just want to know how you've participated in IEC activities before. We are, for example, asking you, have you used our website? Secondly, have you participated in a networking event, in a supplier development workshop? And how would you rate these? This is part of our M&E to know that for those who have participated in the past, they rate us like this, and this is where they think we should improve. So that's just an M&E sheet for additional data. Remember, we have some information from your application process, but we want to consolidate it. Yeah, so we are going to display the sheet again, because as we answer the questions, we want to refer to it, but the QR code will once again be shared in the link as a fresh, because it could have been overpowered by the many questions. We shall share it again. Now, allow us to move to the questions that have come in as we displayed the tool. I'm hoping to get the first one. And that wasn't the first one. Okay, I'm still trying to locate the first question, no worries. Okay, I think we found the first question. There are not so many. The first question is, can annual turnover be average of years of operation? I think we answered that it has to be for the recent years. Then should experience be only in oil and gas? Yes, for now, answered that. Are you looking at turnover in oil and gas only? No, here is where we differ. We are looking at turnover in general, because it's quite a bit expected and predictable that some of the enterprises may not have implemented in oil and gas already. So when we look at the turnover and margins, all the profitability and liquidity ratios we are asking for are in general. Only the tenders should be oil and gas. Then we have another question. Do business relationships with subcontractors in oil and gas count as experience? Definitely, yes. We are looking at players across the whole and entire value chain of oil and gas. So these business relationships do count. Please do fill that out. So is supply in oil and gas as low as $500 considered experience enough that a company can indicate? 100% yes, it's experience, however minute. So once we record it at $500, our aim shall be to grow it. So don't worry, you can put the 500, it counts enough. When we work with you, our joint objective should be to enhance that triple-fold and multifold. Okay, about the core business. How to respond if the company's scope is a bit wide? So, very interesting question. I think that gives us allowance to put provision for at least 3 core competencies. So we shall let you prioritize. We can adjust the tool before we share it to let you indicate only 3 core competencies, because that would be enough to give us an assessment. So look at the core business that is more applicable for oil and gas and relevant, and we can work with 3 areas. That should suffice for purposes of this tool. Okay, the next is a complement. Thank you very much. And then we look at the other question. It's a compliment, yeah, that ultimately thanks us for this important initiative. Okay, then we had a clarification that NSSF gives clearance for only 3 months, and then another submission came in for only 1 month. Allow us to briefly cross-check this, and we shall amend the question to either say, have you pursued any NSSF clearance, or have you required, something like that, to kind of suit this period of time, because we cannot ask whether you got an NSSF for the past month. That would be a bit unrealistic, but allow us to modify this question to make it make meaning based on the clearances given by NSSF. Okay, let's proceed to the other question. You mentioned that for the physical training, only 1 person should attend. In my case, I am the MD who is in charge of strategic planning, management. However, the business development manager is very important. I wish both of us could attend to get the training. So for the physical trainings. This is very important, and we've also thought hugely about it. It's also a request that comes often. It's an issue, though, that we may have to take up with the program funder and sponsor, TotalEnergies, to see if the resources they avail can allow for two. We, however, commit to making recordings of these sessions to allow you to share them further, because in the scenario that they say we are unable to extend resources to an additional person, we shall then share recordings, which may not be as effective, but we believe should at least meet your objectives halfway. Let's take this up one more time. We've engaged the client before, but let's give it one more voice, one more strong voice, and see if this is permissible. If not, we shall provide course resources, downloads, templates, recordings, and also in future, when the online learning platform is opened, they should be able to do self-paced courses on this platform. Okay, so we have a question here. What do you mean by national content? Okay, let's pack national content. We are going to get an explanation from my colleague Sandra, a audited explanation, if okay. And then the other question is, will we be able to fill it and then send to you, or we come and visit physically? Okay, this tool, you should be able to fill it online, and the only allowance is for you to fill it out online. For all the people who have registered here today using the QR code, we shall share it an additional time. You will receive the BD tool. You will also receive further guidelines on how to complete the tool and the link where to submit after you've completed. You should be able to receive the tool. So once you feel you have enough information to complete the tool, you don't require any online facilitation to complete the tool that we've planned for next week, feel free to submit. That will be our joy and pride. Then will we have a point of contact for clarifications? Definitely yes. You can use the same email address to raise further questions, and this will be an online facilitation. We shall be on standby as we go through the tool. We shall have breakout rooms if need be for you to dive deep and fill out the tool, because at the end of the day, we want everyone to complete the tool effectively and efficiently and as accurately as possible. So let me pause a bit for my colleague to explain to you what national content is in regard to this. This is my colleague Sandra speaking.
All right, thank you very much, Christine, for that rich presentation. And to answer the question, so national content is the use of national goods and services. So in oil and gas, one of the regulations is to make sure that the contractors, depending on which, actually all tiers, use national goods and services. Everything that you use on your project should be bought and got from Uganda locally. So there's a percentage where they accept importing and also using foreign technical people to run the project. But national content is basically using national goods and services. There are several percentages. We have a workshop around that where we shall explain what is acceptable to bring in from expatriates and also importation, but another percentage that is for the locals. So they have different pillars. So they look at the employment. Are you employing national people? Are you buying goods and services from locals? Are you building their capacity in terms of training, in terms of internship, in terms of skilling? So these are requirements when you're filling in your bids. There's usually a template that you fill to put commitments to your national content. So you're basically showing how many Ugandans you're going to employ, how much
Sandra, you're on mute.
Okay, people kindly confirm with a thumbs up if you're still able to hear us. We had a notification that we are off.
We can hear you.
Good, thank you.
Hear you.
So thank you, Sandra, for that insight. And just to remind you, we have a supplier development workshop on national content. There will be a deep dive into the national content requirements and also what are the requirements, how to fill out those templates and everything. It's on 14th May. And yeah, kindly be sure to attend 14th May. Everyone in our database shall receive that notification. Okay, let's move on to the next training. Someone is geared for the training. Yeah, also us. We are also geared. We are looking forward and are excited to being part of your learning journey. There's a question, will you help in certifications, registrations, patents, etc.? So it depends. We cannot umbrella all and say we shall get you every Tom, Dick, and Harry of a certification. We can prioritize some. For example, we support SMEs with national supplier database registration, and this entails many certificates like tax clearance, NSSF, annual returns. So some of the things are entailed. So we shall go a long way to guide you with templates and advisory on how to get these certifications, and also link you to the right persons. We have business clinics here, whereby URA comes in the house, NSSF comes in the house, URSB comes in the house, the Ministry of Gender comes in the house. There will be all these opportunities for you to catch up on any missing certifications. Okay, another question. Do you intend to support organizations without the relevant documents, like policies and procedures to acquire them? Yes, this is part of the rationale of the diagnostic process, is to handhold you through coaching and mentorship so that you can be able to develop these policies and procedures efficiently. What will be the cost? Once again, the general cost for the program is funded by TotalEnergies, so it's free of charge. It's a fully funded program whereby we whereby we support you to develop a certain policy or guide and advise you. We shall not charge any extra costs for such a service at the IEC. Please don't let anyone tell you that we are charging money. It's all free of charge. I wish you can share the bid document with us. The bid document, kindly clarify. We don't have any standard bid document, but please clarify upon your question. I think it's just a question of error. What kind of document would you refer to here? We explained the tier 1 contractors, but we have a question on, we have challenges regarding OEM's license. Now, we don't want to guess what OEM is, operational, something like that. We would appreciate your support in facilitating constructive dialogue. Definitely do let us know what OEM you're referring to here. We're happy to pick them up because we engage such stakeholders and parties on a regular basis. We would be able to provide more guidance and feedback. Kindly put in that chat. We don't want to chat GPT now what OEM is, operational something, I don't know. Okay. For tenders, contracts, performance evaluation, are we considering only O&G, oil and gas sector, all in general? So for the contract management section, let's concentrate on oil and gas and not look at the other sections. So let's concentrate on oil and gas. If you've not managed a contract in oil and gas before, because while contract management is a standard practice, there are some issues that pertain to oil and gas that we would not want to lose out on by generalizing. Can we access this tool? Yes, please register. QR code shared once again. Another question or remark, the turnover should show. The turnover should be total company performance or only turnover in oil and gas. No, total company performance. It's similar to a question we had before. And please, if we skip your question, please put your hand up or type again in the chat. We apologize. So please throw more light on business under tier 1 and tier 2. I think I'll do just that because it's coming up the second time. So tier 1 contractors, as we said, I think it also gives us an idea to provide a brief on tier 1 contractors and tier 2s, because many people may want to refer to it even after here. But for summary, tier 1s, if you're contracted directly by a licensed operator, someone who has been licensed by the Petroleum Authority and Ministry of Energy in Uganda, a company, please note the major players are TotalEnergies, if you have a contract directly from TotalEnergies, or any of its direct suppliers. So if you're working for someone who is directly contracted by TotalEnergies, we want you in this box to click yes. If you're working directly for ECOP, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or someone who has business directly from ECOP, you're also in this bracket, tier 1 and 2. If you're working directly for Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, or someone who has a direct contract for them, and you're immediately below them, not 2 levels below, then you're also tier 1 and 2. Another one is CNOOC. There are also those that are doing exploration like AMA and Oranto. If you have a contract from any of those, please stick. Where you're not sure, just tell us the kind of contract we are running, and then we can advise you whether you're tier 1 or a tier 2. Okay, there is a note people are failing to use the QR code. So you can either use the login link, or surely you can send this information via email. It's also acceptable as a last resort. So I'm using my laptop. Do I need to scan the code? You can scan the code using your phone, or click the link. Or we can also paste the questions in the chat for those who are still failing, the questions that we want filled out. Because if you're unable to scan the code and access the link, then you don't know what questions we're asking. They're just 4 questions, I think, 5 or so questions. We shall do that also tomorrow. Then someone is thanking dear Sandra for the deep insight about national content. Thank you for that. We have put a note for you on the supplier development workshop on national content, and then head to a question. Does the annual turnover to be indicated have a minimum? Okay, I don't know which question you're referring to, but on the turnover, we want to know if it's above 360. If yes, 360 million Uganda shillings. If it's 0, we get a bit worried, but don't worry about that. Nonetheless, you can indicate that it's 10 million Uganda shillings. It doesn't have to be at any minimum. You just have to tell us honestly how much turnover you have per year. Yeah. So without subtracting any profit or revenue. All right. For the people who can't use the QR code, we are going to send the questions so that you can reply via email, and so that we can also solve that issue of people who are struggling with the QR code. So someone is asking, will the session tomorrow be a continuation for our cohort, or will it be the same presentation for another cohort? Thank you very much. It will be a different session for another cohort. So for now, you're grouped into cohort 1, but when we assign the courses, you may land into different cohorts, depending on your sector of operation. We want to group you with your peer companies. We don't want to group maybe a company in tourism and hospitality with one that is doing 3D dimensional drilling. We want to have homogeneous groups so that you can relate with your peers, that the benchmarks are similar, and we can see how performance across a cohort is. So tomorrow's session is for new participants, but if you feel like you need another wrap, feel free to log in tomorrow. Same code, same login code, but to have the opportunity for other people to participate, we encourage you to listen to today's recording, but we don't mean that you're forbidden from attending tomorrow, but it's definitely another cohort. So many thank you to the program funders. Yes, when you meet colleagues from TotalEnergies, thank them immensely because this is a wonderful opportunity that we've customized for SMEs in oil and gas. Looking at the chat, we are running out of questions, but also out of time. Looks like we performed quite well on both. We hope we have not left any questions unanswered, and we sincerely hope that we are able to meet your expectations in the onboarding session today. And we look forward to welcoming this particular cohort. Let me clarify from Sandra whether we shall join via the same link for the BD tool. No, a new BD link shall be shared with those who register because we need to keep track of who is attending and who we are losing along the way. We hope that you will all stay until graduation because in September it will be raining hearts here at the IEC. We shall be worthwhile SMEs. We shall be the first cohort to graduate in oil and gas. It will be a big milestone, a huge landmark, something that we all shall be proud of. So I'll take another moment or two to confirm that there are no more questions in the chat, all from the people. I don't see any other question, although my colleague is indicating that there is a question from Aisha. There is a hand up. Aisha, perhaps you want to unmute and speak?
No, thank you, Sandra. That was in error. Thank you.
Okay, I'm rather inclined to think that the hand was not intended to be up, but nonetheless, Aisha, please feel free to use the chat for any question. The meeting will remain open for the subsequent 5 minutes to address any issues that may come up after the presentation. Please do register. We are going to share the BD tool and the presentation immediately after here to all people who have registered. You will receive a link from Sandra to join the business diagnostic process next week. So thank you all for your attention. I thank you so much for listening to us and for giving us the opportunity as the IEC to accompany you on this bespoke and customized capacity building training program. Wishing you a lovely afternoon and rest of the week. Bye-bye.